Number 219. In a certain game, we're told a large container has these 4 types of beads. And they're all worth different numbers. This one is worth 7. And this one, yellow, is worth 5. This one is worth 3. This one is worth 2. Alright, so we're told the product. Alright, so the product equals 147,000. So if we're talking about the product that's equal to 147,000, then we're talking about this times this times this, where each one basically has an exponent and they all make up 147,000. Since 147,000 basically is 147 times 1,000, this 1,000 is taken care of by the 5 and the 2. The only one we care about, the question is asking how many red beans were removed. So the red ones are the ones that are in this area. So we only care about what's the value of A. Right? So what equals A? And so 1,000 is taken care of by 5 and 2. We only care about 147. So the 147 factors down to 7 times 21. This factors down to 7 times 3. So we basically have 7 times 7 times 3. So how many 7s are there? How many reds are there? There's 2. So red beans equals 2. So the answer is here, D, 2. Okay, let's look at concepts. The product is 147,000. So that's basically the number of red beans times the number of yellow beans times the number of green beans times the number of blue beans. And beads in this case. And since we're multiplying them, the exponent basically represents how many beads. So if we have 2 red beads, then the value, the way they're calculating it for the product, is 7 times 7. So that's basically adding a 2 there and making it 7 squared. And for this big number, you might look at it and get intimidated. Well, just quickly note that there's 1,000 there, right? So this 1,000 factors down to basically 5 times 2, which is 10. Well, you know, let's look at that. That's basically 10 to the 3rd power. Now 10 to the 3rd power is the same as 5 to the 3rd times 2 to the 3rd. Right? So this basically 10 to the 3rd equals 5 to the 3rd times 2 to the 3rd. So this is almost the same as putting a 3 for B and then a 3 for D. But remember, the question is asking how many red ones are there, right? How many red ones? And we don't care about B or D. So we could just, you know, don't waste your time on the 1,000. Recognize that the 1,000 is taken care of by 5 and 2, since, you know, the 5 and 2 make up 10, and this is some kind of factor of 10. So only focus your efforts here on the 147. And the 147, you should recognize that 7 goes into 14 2 times, and then the other 7 1 time, so that gets you 21. So 7 times 21, split that into 7 and 3. How many 7s do you have? How many reds do you have? You have 2 red beads. So that's why the answer here is D, 2. Now this question is not to be confused with if the question asked you, well, you know, if the sum of the values, so if the sum of the values were some kind of number, like say it were still 147,000, if this question instead asked you what's the sum instead of the product, then you would have a situation where it's, you know, basically like 7a plus 5b plus 3c plus 2d equals 147k. And then you would be asked, oh, well, how many red beads are there? Basically, you know, A equals what? Now, if this were the question, you would not be able to factor it like we did over here to find how many reds. You basically say, oh, we have 1 equation and 4 unknowns. You don't have enough information to answer this. You could have another set of equations to help you figure out what's the relationship between A, B, C, and D, and then from there calculate A. But if you just had this question and it were worded, well, we're told the sum is 147K, you don't have enough information. But instead, this question is asking, well, if the product is 147K, now what? Now, if it's the product, then you set up the equation like this, right? So this setup is what we have in this question, and that's why we could factor it out and find out that there are 2 red beads. Okay, so as a recap, we're basically given 4 beads, and each of these correspond with some value, right? So we have 7, we have 5, 3, and 2. Each one corresponds with a bead, and we're told that the product equals 147K, meaning the 7 times the 5 times the 3 times the 2, however many we have of each one. This equals this 147K. And then, since this is a big number, we want to split that up. That 147,000 breaks down between 147 and 1,000. And just quickly looking at this, this is 10 to the 3rd power. The 10 is taken care of by the 5 and the 2. We only care about how many 7s are there. So this, no matter how you factor this out, it's not going to tell you how many 7s there are. So just forget about this 1,000 and focus only on this 147, factor that out, and you'll get that there are 2 7s, and that means there are 2 red beads, and that's why answer choice D is correct.